Guys, Miami Heat fans, the season is just upon us here, and still we have no idea whether or not Jimmy Butler is going to be a member of the Heat or if he's going to continue to be a member of the Minnesota Timberwolves. So I thought we'd bring in the Miami Herald's very own Anthony Chang to kind of help us out and figure out what's going on with the Heat, what's happening with this. And Anthony, we're going on what, 3 weeks now with this back and
Yeah.
forth. What's the latest? What do you know about Jimmy Butler right now?
Well, the Heat are definitely interested. That's for sure. They're in it. Right now it seems like a game of chicken where, the Heat believe they have the leverage, and they don't want to give up obviously too much to trade for a player who Minnesota can lose for nothing in free agency next summer. And Minnesota believes they have the leverage because they have the asset, they have the player. And Miami can't sign Jimmy Butler next summer because they don't have cap space. The only way they can acquire him is through a trade right now. So both teams believe they have the leverage, and that's kind of why things are how they are right now. They're both kind of, things are at a standstill because, Minnesota wants too much. They believe they deserve more for giving up Jimmy, and the Heat don't want to give up, what Minnesota's asking for. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, and if there's a deal, what it looks like.
And listen, I get it from Jimmy Butler's point of view. There's a financial motive to maneuver away from, getting this deal done sooner rather than later. But when you look at Thibodeau, I mean, here's a guy, president, coach, what he gave up to go out and get Jimmy Butler. I guess you can understand why he wants the world, because if he doesn't get in return what he gave up, it's kind of career suicide for him, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a tough spot to be in for him. I know he's getting criticized a lot right now, Thibodeau, but it's not an easy spot. Jimmy didn't give Minnesota much time to get this done. He it kind of was made public, 2 weeks before training camp, or even a week before training camp, and Minnesota's kind of under the gun right now. But yeah, Thibodeau, he has, like he says, he's trying to do what's best for the organization. But the problem is, like you said, Thibodeau knows that yes, he can get young pieces and draft picks, but that's not going to help him this season. And Thibodeau wants to win this year because he knows if he doesn't have a good year, this could be it for him in Minnesota. So while the owner might be saying, oh, well, draft picks and, a couple of young pieces might be good enough, Thibodeau wants guys who can help him immediately and for them to, to help him get back to the playoffs. So, that's kind of the complicated dynamic of this all. What does Minnesota want? Do they want long-term pieces? Do they want win-now players? I think teams have been getting mixed answers on that because there are two people involved on Minnesota's side that seem to want different things. So that's kind of making this a little more complicated too.
Yeah, and time is of the essence. I mean, listen, as the roster stands, the Heat are pretty much exactly what they were last year. They're a middle of the road.
Right.
They're a bottom seed. And listen, Jimmy Butler can, getting a piece like Jimmy Butler can actually, move them up the ladder a little bit, maybe get them in that upper tier in the playoffs. But at what cost? And Anthony Chang joining us, Miami Herald. He follows the Miami Heat. He covers them. At what cost, Anthony, though? What is too much if you're Pat Riley? What's off limits?
Well, I think it just depends on. It depends on the deal. Like, for instance, there have been reports that, and the Miami Herald's Barry Jackson reported this as well, that Josh Richardson has been offered, to Minnesota, or he's been involved in different offers that have been discussed. Yes, Jimmy Butler is better than Josh Richardson, but the value matters too. Josh Richardson, you have him locked up here for 4 years at $42 million, which is an average of like $10 million a year, which is a bargain for a guy like Josh Richardson who's getting better. Jimmy Butler is making $20 million this year. He's going to ask for a deal that's, 5 years, $190 million in the offseason. So an average of like almost $40 million a year. So yes, Jimmy Butler is better, but the gap, is it that big? That's the question. Yes, Jimmy Butler is better than anybody he'd have right now, but are you willing to give up a young asset that's a good value for a guy who's, kind of almost past his peak, and a 5-year contract? If you do that to him in the offseason, he could be 34 at the end of it, and he's not going to be who he is now. So it's tough. Do you trade Josh Richardson for Jimmy, for the short term, knowing that maybe at the back end of that deal in 5 years, the trade might not look as good. When Josh is still 28 years old and Jimmy's past his prime.
Yeah, and listen, the salary cap's not helping us here. We're not really going to be free or have any maneuverability until 2020 as it stands right now. But we also, the clock is ticking on Justice Winslow. Is there a push to get a deal done prior to October 15th, which is the final day? I mean, he is eligible to sign a contract extension, but there comes a whole lot of issues with that extension, doesn't there?
Yeah, it's another complicated issue as well because of the Jimmy Butler trade talks. That's one reason it's kind of gotten difficult. But there has been talks between the Heat and Justice. Justice said as much yesterday when I spoke with him that they've been kind of going back and forth, discussing the extension. But it's complicated because if you sign Justice to an extension, it kind of almost not technically it doesn't make it impossible, but it makes it extremely difficult to include Justice in any trade just because of CBA rules for the next year if you sign him to an extension. So you have to kind of be positive that Justice is not going to be a part of any Jimmy Butler trade if you get that extension done here over the next few days. And second, like you said, salary cap wise, the Heat are already capped out next summer.
Yeah,
they're $10 million over the salary cap. So then you add Justice at, you estimate the extension could be $9 to $10 million a year. You're now over $20 million over the cap, which you're approaching a luxury tax at that point. So, the Heat are in a tough spot. I'm sure they would love to keep Justice, but I think it's, while they're discussing it, it's going to be hard, I think, to kind of make that room for him when you have so much money invested in other guys already.
Yep. Anthony Chang, Miami Herald, follows and covers the Miami Heat season just about underway here. And what is the mood? Because let's face it, with all of these rumors and innuendos about Jimmy Butler and who's being traded, what is your feel around the team with these guys whose names have continued to come up time and time again? I mean, it can't be a comfortable situation feeling like, here I am on the Miami Heat, but I may not be here in a couple of weeks.
Well, everyone's been handling it very well. We haven't been allowed to really talk to guys on the record about that stuff. The Heat have kind of made it known that they're not addressing those rumors, and players and coaches want to address the rumors. But just from being around the team on the road, just last week and in training camp and even this week at home, they've been handling it well. I think they understand what's going on. I'm sure it is a little bit of an awkward environment just because there's so many other guys' names have been involved in different rumors, whether it's Goran or Kelly or Josh Richardson or Justice Winslow, Hassan Whiteside, shopping Dion Waiters. I mean, it seems like half the roster has been involved in rumors over the past few weeks. So I'm sure it's a little bit uneasy, but for the most part, considering it all, considering the circumstances, they've been handling it, fairly well.
And listen, with the season just around the corner here, Anthony, the health of this team, we know it's a marathon. It's not a sprint, the NBA season. We get that. But so far, we hope we're going to get healthier. What is the state of the injuries and the health of this team going into the season?
Well, they have dealt with a lot of injuries this preseason, but I think a lot of them have been minor, and a lot of guys have been out just out of precaution. They don't want to rush back, since these games really don't matter and the season's so close to starting. But the Heat hope that Wayne and Derek Jones, Wayne Ellington and Derek Jones can come back tonight, against the Pelicans on Wednesday, or at some point here, before the end of the preseason. They practiced yesterday. They hope to have him back. Goran, I guess, banged knees with a player in Monday's win over the Magic. He's questionable against the Pelicans, but that seems minor too. I'm sure if there was a regular season, he would play. I wouldn't be surprised if they might shut him down for the final 2 games of the preseason and just let him rest for the start of the year, season next week. But the guys who there's a chance they could miss the start of the season, have a real chance of missing the start of the year, is Dion Waiters, who Bolsher said it's unlikely he'll be ready for the opener, and James Johnson, who right now his status is in question for the opener as well, although I would say he has a better chance of maybe making it by then, better chance than Dion. So I think James Johnson and Dion are the 2 guys that there's a real chance they could kind of miss time here to start the regular season, but we'll see. But the other guys, they should be ready to go.
Well, listen, it's a long season, but it's about to get underway. The good news is it's the Miami Heat. We know no matter what the outcome is, they're going to play hard. They're going to give the fans everything they can. And, of course, Dwayne Wade, the farewell tour, will begin. And either way, it's going to make for an exciting season. And certainly encourage you guys to follow Anthony Chang, Miami Herald. He is with the team. He covers the team all year long. Great stuff there with the Herald. Anthony, I appreciate your time, my friend. Best of luck this season. I look forward to doing this again.
Sounds good. Thank you for having me on, Joe.